fluency affect reading ability? I'm Dr. Emily Sherwood. If you're interested in literacy and education, please like and subscribe. So today I'm talking about fluency, and when we're talking about the pillars of literacy, this is one of the pillars. And I think this is probably the least understood pillar of all of them. And so fluency is the ability to easily and accurately read and to say words. So they talk about automaticity when it comes to fluency. That means that a student can look at a word, they can say the word very easily, don't have to think to decode it very quickly. They just say it very easily and they can move on to the next word. It also means accuracy, so the student reads the word correctly. Now, this does not mean quickly. When it comes to fluency, there's this idea out there that means reading quickly, and there are actually a lot of school systems that will take a timer or a stopwatch, and they'll make the kid read the words. They'll give a child a list of words, especially in the lower grades, and the student has to read them, and they see how many words the student reads per minute. And based on that, they decide if the student's a good reader or the student needs more time. In the reading world, we don't really like that because some students need to take their time, and that's okay. I knew a very, very smart woman, one of the smartest women I've ever met in my life, that I went to grad school with. And she was a fairly slow reader. She had to reread things. She did it, but she did it correctly. And it was not an incredibly difficult task for her, but she just took time. So I caution parents to think about whether they're encouraging their child to read quickly, because that's not really helpful. That can really lead to frustration in a child. Now, part of fluency is called prosody, and that means how it sounds when you're reading it loud. So kind of the sing-song voice when you're reading. You read with intonation, you have an accent. That's part of it, but that's not all of it. And prosody, when done well, means that you're a fluent reader, that you're a good reader. That's what it means. It means you've had a lot of practice. And for many students who are struggling to read, especially English learners, they will read beautifully. They'll be very fluent because they've had a lot of practice. Maybe they've studied for years, and especially in some cultures, they may memorize words, so they know most of the words without having to think a lot. But then they can't understand what they're reading, and that's really common with fluency. So it's very common for students to have kind of a hidden fluency problem, because they use up so much space reading because it's hard for them to read fluently, but then they don't understand. So how do we fix fluency problems? If a child is struggling to read, reading is really hard, or if the child can read well, but all that energy is being used with reading and then the child can't understand. So there are a few ways. With very young children, there is some research that shows reading aloud and repeated reading, that means reading the same thing over and over, can be really helpful. Some schools use what's called whisper phones, which means that the child can kind of record themselves, or they can hear themselves. There are different models. They can either record themselves, or they can just hear themselves reading, and then the child can improve on that. Really, the best way to read well and to have fluency is just to practice. A lot of students, especially English learners, but today a lot of students in general, in schools all over the world, and I have worked all over the world, those students, there are many students who really find reading to be a chore. It's very hard for them, and they don't have what's called stamina, which means that they cannot read for long periods of time. So the student might read for 5 minutes and suddenly their eyes are tired, they're sleepy, they want to do something else, they want to go outside in the playground, and that's a fluency problem because the student just doesn't have enough practice. So really, practice of reading is really, really important with this. It doesn't take, special programs. It doesn't mean, reading words really fast and practicing that. Really, just practice is the best way for a child to become better, or an adult, at fluency. So that's all I have for today. As always, thank you. If you're interested in literacy and in education policy, please like and subscribe. And until next time, keep learning.